welcome to video 6 in our 5-3 video series. In this video, we're going to take a look at another situation that you might run into when you're factoring. We're going to go ahead and look together at example 7, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. We're given x squared plus 9x is equal to y. Now, if you'll remember, the first thing we want to do is set these equal to 0. So I'm going to replace that y value with a 0. And I'm going to take a look at what I'm given. Now I'm given x squared plus 9x, but if you'll notice, we don't have a constant on this one. We're missing our c value. Now that's no reason to panic. This is going to be something that we can remedy fairly easy. What we have to do is think about what can we add to this that's not going to change that would be a constant. And our answer is going to be 0. So when we have a situation where we're not going to give a c, that is going to always mean that our c is going to be 0, because if we add 0 to anything, it's not going to change it, so that's why it gets left off a lot of the times. But to go ahead and give us the form that we're used to factoring in, we're going to go ahead and write that out so that we know what this is going to be. So really this is equal to 0 as well, because our y was equal to 0. So let's go ahead and take a look at our factoring. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is lock in our x's. Now we talked about in the last video how we have an invisible 1 hidden when we don't see an a value there. So the only thing that we can multiply together to get x squared is x and x. So we're going to go ahead and fill that into our parentheses. And now we want to look at whether our signs should be the same or whether they should be different. So looking at my signs of the last one, I'm going to have a positive 0, a plus 0, and a positive 9x. Now this can be a little bit tricky, just because 0 is not normally thought of as positive or negative, but we are writing a plus 0 here. So that means our signs are going to be both the same, and they're either going to be both addition or both subtraction. Now in this problem, I do have a positive 9x in the middle, so that means that both of my signs are going to be positive. I'm going to fill it in as x plus and x plus. Now the last thing we need to think about is what's going to add to be 9 and multiply to be 0. Now, we know that the 0 property of multiplication tells us that 0 times anything is 0, so we know one of these numbers has to be 0. Now, the only thing we can add to 0 to get 9 is 9 itself, so that actually makes this pretty easy to go ahead and follow through with. We're going to go ahead and plug in x plus 0 and x plus 9. And when we multiply this out to check, we're going to do 0 times x, and that is going to give us 0x. And we're going to do the x times the 9, and that is going to give us 9x. And when we add those together, it is going to give us the 9x term that we have in the middle. So our last step is to go ahead and solve this. We're going to have x plus 0 equals 0, and x plus 9 is equal to 0. Now this one's easy. Adding 0 to anything is just 0, so we have one term of x equals 0. And on the other one, we just have to subtract 9 from both sides, and we get x equals negative 9. So we can easily have our two solutions here. Now, you might have saw something at the very beginning of this. There is an easier way to do this. Remember when we first started talking out in this lesson, we started talking about greatest common factors, and how we always wanted to check for a GCF first. Now, a GCF does not always have to necessarily be a number. It could be a variable as well. So when I'm going back and I'm looking at this, and I had x squared plus 9x is equal to 0, I can actually see that both of these terms are going to have an x value in them. I have an x squared in the first term, and I have an x in the second term. So what that actually is going to let me do is pull out an x from both of those. So I can go ahead and pull out an x in front, and that would leave me with, if I take x out of x squared, an x, and if I take it out of 9x, a 9, and I can see that this is actually already factored for me. I just have to set each side equal to 0, x equals 0, and x plus 9, and solve from there. And we can see that that's going to give us the same thing that we got just a little bit above. Now, the way that this matches up, remember anything plus 0 is 0. So this x plus 0 term here is actually the x term that we have over here. So do be on the lookout when you don't have a c value to see if there is a greatest common factor that you can pull out. That may save you some time, but you also know that our normal tried and true method is definitely going to work for you as well. There's still no U-tries yet. We're going to pick those up on video 7. So go ahead and make sure you got this video down and then move on to video 7, and we'll see you there.